4, and I built this YouTube channel to try to demonstrate as much as it's possible how valuable fatherhood is. And I believe and I've seen that dads oftentimes get a little bit stomped on, messed with, pushed out of the family structure, pushed out of the societal structure. So I tried to build this in order to be an encouragement to fathers, as well as sharing some funny stories or parenting tips. I've also been a therapist for over 12 years. I've worked with children and adolescents over the course of that time, and I've seen a lot about how psychology has not necessarily been the best friend of fathers. I've seen a lot of dads who've been trying to get custody of their kids back, and so I came to realize that fatherhood needed a bit of uplifting in society. So I started this channel for that purpose. I am coming to you today to tell the story about how my dad saved me when I peed my pants in front of a live audience. I was 6 years old at the time, and I hadn't gotten my first bike yet. I hadn't learned how to ride a bike, and so there was a contest in my hometown where if you signed up, you were interviewed by a panel, you gave them your stats a little bit, and then you had the potential to be declared the prince of the town. You got to ride on a float, you got to have a free bike as a reward, and then you got your name in the paper, which this was in 1989 probably, so things were a little bit slower, a little bit less internet crazed at that time. No internet in our house anyway at the time. So I signed up for this contest, and I went up to the interview process, which I think there were other parts of the process too, but I went into the interview process, and there were all these kids being interviewed, and they would ask you what your favorite food was, they would ask you what you do for your hobbies, and that was the time. Hi, Jace, welcome, thank you for coming. So they invited everybody up to the front, and they would ask you your favorite food, and then they kick you along on your way. And so this is the time I remember about my dad most when I was growing up. I remember how much he loved me because of this story, so stick with me. So I was kind of an anxious kid, and I had kind of an anxious bladder. So while I was standing in line to go up for this interview, I had to pee. I was too anxious to ask anyone what I should do about the fact that I had to pee. And so I was like 7 years old. I was like, to heck with it. Let me just pee in my pants. Or I just held it so long I couldn't help it. So I peed my pants while I was getting ready to be interviewed as the Prince of Bellbrook. Where did I get these glasses? Actually, my job gave these to me. They're pretty lit. They're a little... So the judges of the competition are like, why are you standing so funny? You're so weird. And they're like, oh, you're cross-legged. Is that just how you like to stand? And I'm like, yeah, that's how I stand. Pee running down my leg the whole time. Oh, you pooped your pants after 20 tacos. Congratulations. I would too. It depends on where you get them, right? So I peed my pants. I'm standing there for the interview. They ask me what food I like the most, and I say like pork chops or something like that, and they're like, oh, you're a funny kid, here's a bike, you win, you're the Prince of Bellbrook. So I had been standing cross-legged the whole time. My dad's in the audience, and he comes, and I was like, Dad, I peed my pants. He's like, I know, I love you, you did a good job. And so I have always remembered that, because my father, for all his flaws, he was willing to suffer with my pee-soaked legs around his neck just to try to comfort me, knowing that like I had, done the best I could, and I was too anxious to be able to make it happen. So God bless all the dads out there. I just stuck my hand in my daughter's poop last night trying to change her diaper. And those are the types of sacrifices that real men make in order to make the fatherhood thing happen. And I pray for a day when all men will have the opportunity to be there with their kids, even when the times are hard, even when there's poopy diapers to be changed, or there's suddenly pee-soaked pants that you have to deal with. Oh, by the way, I did win the competition. I was the prince of my hometown at that time. So I got to ride on a float with like a high school girl who is the princess or whatever, and I won a free bike. So that was pretty sweet. But my dad, you know, God bless him, he sacrificed so much for me. He really is truly to this day my hero. I come from a line of stonemasons in my family, so generation after generation are stonemasons, and he worked his tail off to be able to provide for us, and he worked his way up in that industry to provide for us, and we never wanted for anything. And even though he and my mom got divorced when I was 18, I have a lot of attributes that I wish were as good as my father's. And that's what's possible. You know, your dad can still be your hero, even if your relationship isn't perfect, even if the way that you were brought up wasn't perfect. It's God's grace to have a good dad, and it's a demonstration of what real fatherhood looks like, is the outpouring of God's goodness through a dad onto his kids. So thank you for listening to my pea-soaked story. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for the encouragement. If you have any desire to see fatherhood and parenting reviews or any psychological factors about what common sense is in fatherhood, please like and subscribe. I'll talk to y'all soon.